Back. Rule breakers. We had a nice little break. We had awesome cold plunge challenge with so many thousands of people participating. This was actually my favorite challenge. So, okay, let's fire it up, man. I know we got a bunch of people waiting for questions, so we'll try to get through all of them in the next hour here. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
So I actually I was going to ask you a question on your last call that we had here.
Sure.
It was about plunging before bed, but that kind of got answered throughout the process there. So I have a different question.
Okay.
My mom, she's 72 years old. She was diagnosed a year ago with CLL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how familiar you are with that.
Chronic lymphocytic leukemia?
Yep.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's non-rapid progressing. It's a slow progressing, thank God. But some of the stuff I was reading talked about the benefits of cold plunging for CLL, and sometimes the sauna, the red light sauna, and doing that. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. It's not CLL is not like a huge common thing, but I wanted to get your thoughts on if cold plunging at her age with that is a good idea. I was going to buy her a cold plunge for her birthday, but I wasn't sure if that was a good thing to do or not.
Yeah, I mean, look, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, like a lot of blood cell disorders, lymphocyte disorders, does benefit from strengthening of the immune system. There's a school of thought that early autoimmune disease leads to other chronic autoimmune conditions. So a progressive weakening of the immune system actually exacerbates a lot of these conditions. There are certain peptides like thymulin or thymosin alpha that have shown some real promise in boosting the immune system without a lot of downside risk, amino acid peptides for these types of conditions. And cold plunging is one of those organic ways to bolster the immune system, and actually causes a rise in all classes of the immune system: natural killer cells, white blood cells, lymphocytes. So I would start off with what I would call cool plunging instead of cold plunging. So I would start her in the 60s, the low 60s, and see if you can work her down to 58 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 minutes minimum, 6 minutes maximum. Again, a lot of times in older ages, the lack of hormetic stress on the immune system causes the immune system to progressively weaken, and then we get these late life autoimmune conditions. And the interesting thing, I say aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort, is, a lot of times these happen later in life because of the decline in mitochondrial function. So the two things that show promise with this from a modality perspective, one is red light therapy, photobiomodulation, and CLL. If you Google that, you'll find quite a bit of literature on it, but also cold plunging. I think it would be a great idea to buy her, budget depending, something like a Plunge XL that's easy for her to get into and easier for her to get out of. It has an edge that she can step over, sides that she can easily grip. She can control her descent, she can control her ascent, rather than using something like a barrel plunge or something that's a little bit more difficult to get in and out of. But I would start it in the low 60s and eventually try to work her down to 58 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks for the question, man. Hey, man. Is it Joe?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. What's up, buddy?
Question about the gene test.
Sure.
I've gotten the original one done a while ago. It was yellow, 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 green, red. With the new one, 3 yellows, green, and then red.
Yep.
I'm doing the SAM E. I'm doing all your supplements. With the new gene test, I still struggle for energy a lot of times. With the new one, is there any different, would it be more in depth? Is there a different protocol, recommendation? Would it be helpful to find out more in depth what's going on, or do you think the original one is?
Yeah, so here's my truthful position on that test, one of the things you might notice is I've been conspicuously absent from social media relative to that test. And the reason is this. I am an extraordinarily deep believer in the current gene test. I was a part of a group of PhDs and MDs and other nutrition companies like Pure Encapsulations, Thorne, myself, Cell Science Systems. And what we did was we took the scientific data and for 2.5 years, we actually reported into the same system at Cell Sciences. So if you actually look at your previous gene test, depending on when you got it, there are several columns. One of the columns was consider practitioner guidelines. And what we did there was for 2.5 years, we data shared. We didn't actually share patient information, but we actually shared patient outcomes. We sanitized the patient data and we shared patient outcomes because I'm such a big believer in big data. Right, so you have a research study and it indicates that 400 micrograms of methylfolate is good for this genetic deficiency. And then what you do is you start to put clients on 400 micrograms of methylfolate. But then you get a response back from them that the majority of them notice little to no difference at all. So you increase it to 800 milligrams. And then you notice that a vast majority of the population notices a dramatic result. So you increase it to 1,000 milligrams, and then you get a dramatic increase in the response from the subjective data. Like the majority of patients notice a reduction in their anxiousness, a reduction in anxiety, improvement in sleep scores, and an elevation in what they would say is their energy level, right? And these are all what we call subjective because they're open to interpretation. And then you look at the objective data. Right? So objective data is like lab work. When we put people on certain dosages of trimethylglycine, how many of them were actually able to lower their homocysteine? How many of them were able to lower their C-reactive protein? So after about 2.5 years and thousands of patients, we kind of settled into the same formulation. And we did it based on two things. One, sound scientific data that gave us the nutrient. And then large pools of data in real human beings, real population data, where we got as high of a response in a massive population and we all kind of settled into the same numbers, which is why if you look at my 10x optimized formula and you compare it to Pure Encapsulations Pure Ultra Multi, or you compare it to Thorne's MethylGuard Plus, you'll see that we're all kind of in the same zip code, not because we're copying each other or stealing each other's formulas, but because that formula in a large population of people is what worked. So now you come to the precision genetic test. And the precision genetic test is more in-depth. It doesn't do 5 genes, it does 50 genes. The data has come out and given us the nutrient and suggested dosage. But to just be patently honest, we haven't tested it in a large enough pool of patients yet to get back that valuable subjective data that I personally would like to see before I wholeheartedly recommend it. And look, it's my company's test. I'm a partner in the test. It's twice the cost of the current genetic test, so I'd love to tell you to go get it. But my inclination would be to hold off for just a few more months because we've got 6,500 clients that have done this test. The supplements have just come back. It's really important to me to see that these bead packets and the precise dosing in the levels that they're suggesting are going to work in a mass population. And so before I full-throatedly get behind that, whatever you want to call it, really endorse the test, I want to see the subjective data come back from those patients. So my suggestion would be, to use the current gene test that we have now. I have just a very, very high level of confidence in that test. You probably, if you've been on the Rulebreca long enough, you've heard a lot of testimonials that are unsolicited. I'd like to get that data back first, and then you'll see me go full bore on that test. But I get a lot of questions like, you've been conspicuously absent from your company's own gene test. Well, I really want to see the objective data come back. So that would be my honest assessment.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's why we trust and love you, Gary.
Thank you. Doesn't go over so well with my partners sometimes, but I'm like, but yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it, my friend. Hey there. Hi, Rick.
My question is on my red light therapy I have. The one I have, I don't know if they all do or not, but it's got the R plus, the NIR, and the B plus.
Hmm.
Is that gonna affect my neuropathy at all on that treatment? And or can I stare into all these wavelengths, like you say you can, without damaging my eyes?
Yeah. So the short answer is that yes, it should have a positive effect on neuropathy. Remember, very often neuropathic conditions are actually not nerve issues, they're circulatory issues, right? I mean, you might have heard me say I could give anybody on this call peripheral neuropathy if I wanted. I would just put a tourniquet on your calf, right? And 20 minutes later, you'd have peripheral neuropathy in that foot. You'd have the signs of tingling, numbness, burning, itching. Eventually, the nerves would actually be so deprived that they would actually go numb. I could pinch the top of your foot as hard as I could. You wouldn't feel it. But you have to remember there's nothing wrong with the nerves in that foot. I've just deprived them of circulation. So one, I would think about adding something called Vinia resveratrol to your daily routine. 2 capsules, 1 capsule in the morning, 1 capsule at night, really good for circulation. The second thing I would think about is contrast therapy, hot and cold therapy. In the case of peripheral neuropathy, you actually want to end on heat rather than end on cold. And red light therapy is excellent for it because red light therapy is very good for vasomotor circulation. Remember, I say this all the time, it's a really difficult concept for people to grasp that roughly 70% of our circulatory system, 70%, is not done by the heart. No one on this call right now has a heart that is strong enough to circulate blood to 100% of our body. In fact, none of you have a heart that's strong enough to pump blood from your heart to the tip of your toes, the tip of your fingers, and push blood all the way through your liver, your lungs, your pancreas, your kidneys. This is done by something called vasomotor activity. So think about a snake swallowing a mouse, right? Or the mouse going down the snake's body. It's this peristaltic kind of wave-like motion that after the heart beats, boom, boom, you get a bolus of blood in a vessel, and that undulating motion is what circulates the rest of the blood. One of the reasons why red light therapy is really good for eyesight, for example, and yes, you can leave your eyes open. It's very good for eyesight, it's very good for circulation, is because it restores vasomotor activity. It's the 70% of the circulatory system that we just don't even think about. Right? So each time our heart beats, it pushes blood into 7.5% of our arteries, 14% of our veins, and then vasomotor takes over from there. Like, for example, one of the reasons why most people begin to wear readers, these are blue light glasses, not readers, but they'll wear readers in their late 40s or early 50s, is not because people's eyesight starts to go in their late 40s or early 50s, it's because the vasomotor activity is compromised. So when they say red light therapy improves your eyesight, it doesn't really improve your eyesight. There's nothing wrong with your eyesight. It improves the vasomotor activity that supplies the oxygen and the nutrients to your rods, your cones, your macula, your retina, and that's why your eyesight improves. So yes, red light therapy should do wonders for your peripheral neuropathy, and yes, it's also very safe to leave your eyes open. Remember, if you look at the spectrum of light, right, we start with X-ray, which we know what X-rays are. They're also very damaging. You don't want to get too many of those. Then we move from X-ray into the UV spectrum, UVA, UVB. Those are also damaging. Those are the rays that damage your skin. Then above UVA, we have the visible spectrum of light, which is like a narrow sliver, one of which is red light. And then you move into infrared, near infrared and infrared. And that's where a lot of your benefit comes from. In fact, if you look at your red light panel or your red light device, there's probably some lights that are on there that look like they're out. Those are just those are the spectrums that you can't see. That's on, you just can't see it. And that's really what's giving you the benefit.
Yeah, I was worried I'd have to turn the blue light off, but I guess I know, and I'll tell you, I'm not using readers anymore. Since I've used it for about a month. That's all, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, so you're not wearing readers anymore either?
No.
There's a perfect testimonial for what I just said. Now,
I came to the grocery store and read the labels. I'm like, wow, I'm doing this without readers.
you know, it's funny. Joe Rogan had the same experience. If you saw my my Joe Rogan podcast, During the episode, he actually went on the website and bought the bought the bed, the $120,000 light bed. I was very quick to jump in and say, hey, you don't need to spend 120 grand on a light bed, but he bought it, and 5 weeks later, he started texting me saying, Gary, I can't believe this. I'm not wearing readers anymore. My eyesight is dramatically improved.
The goggles and the one he had before he met you. Remember you were saying
Yep.
sun goggles.
Yep. I told him to take them off.
I was smart enough not to use them because I listened to you.
Yeah, because remember, it's the reason why I went through that whole explanation of light. It's the spectrums outside of the spectrums that I was talking about that damage you. You certainly don't want to go outside and look directly towards the sun. You're going to get a lot of UVA, a lot of UVB. You certainly don't want to get a lot of X-rays, right? And especially in the skull. And you don't want the very intense UV light or intense invisible light spectrum. But what they do is they control that spectrum in red light therapy devices, so you only get the therapeutic wavelengths. So if it's not too bright for you, by all means leave your eyes open, but you're a perfect testimonial for exactly what I was saying. Now look, the FDA doesn't allow you to make a claim, which I'm not, for the record, I'm not making, but that red light therapy will improve your eyesight because it hasn't been specifically approved for that purpose. But I will tell you from large pools of data, the vast majority of clients, including myself, report a dramatic improvement in eyesight.
That was Dina Resveratrol.
Vinia, V-I-N-I-A. The first part is V. Yeah, Vinia.
Resveratrol. I'll look it up.
All right, brother. Hey. Back again. Hey, Dylan.
Hey, yeah, good to see you again. So my question for you, I'm wondering if I can run through my gene breaks and give you a quick breakdown of what I do currently for supplements and just see if there's anything that you would change.
Sure.
Okay, give me 1 second, I'm just bringing it up. Okay, so FUT2 is yellow, MTHFR is yellow, MTRR is yellow, and they did not test COMT. What I'm currently doing is the methylated multi-B vitamin, glutathione, L-glutamine, resveratrol, and amino acids are the main ones.
Okay, so if you're taking it, are you taking a B complex?
Methylated.
Methylated B complex by who? Thorne?
No, it's some random company off Amazon. Again, being in Canada, I've only got so many options.
Okay, so just make sure that the B complex, very often the B complexes don't have B12. So make sure that your B complex has methylcobalamin.
It does. Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's a good B complex. And then the second thing I would do is I would add TMG, trimethylglycine, TMG, which you should be able to get in Canada. And you take it as prescribed on the label. It comes in two forms, usually comes in a gel capsule, and it comes in a liquid form that you take a teaspoon of in the morning. Or it comes in a gel capsule. Life Extension, I think, is available in Canada. That's a good brand. So is Thorne, so is Pure Encapsulations. And they all make great great TMG capsules. So I would take those 2 TMG capsules in the morning.
Okay. I know you've recommended it before, so I had actually found the TMG in the store at one point and just grabbed it because I'm like, I'm probably going to need this. Actually, I've already got it.
Yeah. Okay, great. You're in good shape then.
Awesome. Okay, and thank you for everything you've done. You've helped me a lot, way more than doctors have in the last 20 years, and it's been an awesome journey. So thank you again.
Thank you, man. That means the world to me. I really appreciate that.
Hey, Gary, how are you doing, man?
Hey, man, my favorite radio voice. How you doing, buddy?
Well, that was going to be one question for you. Can you provide like an update on your book and podcast tour?
Yes. So my book is actually done. I just have to finish citing the resources. So my book should easily be out, finished within the next 60 days. But because it's complete, I just need to finish citing the resources. So I'll continue to give you guys an update on the publishing date for it. And then I plan in September to get, I release a podcast of my own every week. So sometimes like I went to London, I did 8 podcasts in London, and I release them over the next 8 weeks. But when I get back from the summer, I spend a lot of time in Colorado. We have a place in Colorado, so I try to get as much time out there off the grid in the woods as I can. So in mid to late September, I'm going to start doing a podcast run again.
Are you going to be doing a podcast tour for the book? Like, I sent an email maybe 3 months ago.
Okay.
So I just want to kind of follow up with that.
If you wouldn't mind, I'll make sure that Malia or Brianna from my team follows up on you for that email. If you could actually resend it, so they're listening in the background, so it becomes top of their inbox. Then they can give you more details on the podcast tour. But yes, when I do the book, I'll go back. Rogan, Diary of a CEO, Skinny Confidential, as many of those podcasts as I can get on to get the word out.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I can do it totally ahead of time so that you're not impacting that release, Just
Awesome.
do all that. So I'm going to keep that to my one question for this month so you can get to the rest of the people. So appreciate what you and your team are doing. And the suggestion to Rick about Vinian, I can confirm that absolutely helps. So Rick, jump in again.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that. I mean, I love hearing from, these are the kind of experiences that mean more to me than data that we get sometimes from research articles, right? I mean, I really believe that, very often research will lead us to the nutrient or the compound, right? But then you really have to test it in a large population. And when I say test, I mean, I'm not talking about making people guinea pigs, but it's very hard to hurt yourself with resveratrol. It's a grapeseed extract, or it's a grape skin extract. So when you see repeated high percentages of patients having the exact same result, and how they feel, and then you back that up with the objective data of seeing the blood biomarkers change, you've really got something that's going to work. So I appreciate that too.
It's been huge. Thanks, Gary.
Awesome, man.
Hey Gary, David Strauss over by Telluride. Great to see you.
Hey man, good to see you again.
Thank you. Hey, some overarching wellness questions. I'm 59 years young. I have no medical history at all other than injuries. And, I don't take any medications or anything, but I really am being proactive about moving forward. Does 10X offer like any on-site testing? Like, I know there's a company called Fountain Health or Fountain Life, and they do like full body scans, things like that. Does 10X offer any type of comprehensive testing that I could do?
We don't offer that kind of testing directly, but there are a few. If you contact my team, that I can put you in touch with, there'll be a fraction of the cost of Fountain Life. Fountain Life is not an inexpensive battery of testing. I think very often you can get paralysis of analysis with this type of testing too. We originally started with 500 biomarkers and narrowed it down to 72. Because with this 72 biomarkers, it will give you the pathways that you need to focus on. Like, if you see certain elevated markers, well, then you go down the autoimmune route, or you go down the viral route, or you go down the mycotoxin or mold spore or metal toxin route, rather than throw that large of a casting net out to begin with, right? So we throw a casting net out to see what's below the surface, meaning we look at the 5 major genes of methylation. We look at the 72 to 74 biomarkers in the blood, and then we graduate to more specific testing, metals, some allergy and food sensitivity testing, and there's only a very few of those that I believe in, the KMBO test, stool testing, mold spore, mycotoxin, metals, or you can go and get all of that done at the same time, which is also a choice. I try to give people a baseline and an entry level so it's not so overwhelming, because I think you could make an argument for just about any one of those tests. But as somebody that actually does this for a living, when I get a 180-page report and I have to decipher my way through that report, and I have a difficult time, I just think that the end consumer very often gets all of this information and gets kind of paralysis of analysis. I'm a big fan of the body scans, but you can get a body scan done for about $600, and there's a place right here in Miami that's excellent for that, Gentera Medical. And they also do a similar battery of testing. So if you're interested in more comprehensive testing, I could give you some places, outside of 10X that I could refer you to. That would be a fraction of the cost of some of these other places.
Great, thank you. And I'm taking the took the first genetic test, a couple years ago, so I haven't switched over to the 10X supplements yet. And so how do I find out what I should be switching over to?
You can actually make an appointment with one of our genetics counselors. We have dozens of them now, and they'll make that lateral shift for you, because what we've done is I've tried to combine, take a lot of the individual supplementation and combine them into one. So for example, I combine the B complex, the folates, the B vitamins, and a bunch of these cofactors into one supplement called 10X Optimize. Took about 2.5 years to build that supplement. So you might be able to reduce the amount and frequency of what you're taking and still get to the same nutritional targets.
Great. I have other questions, but I want to be respectful of other people. So
Thank you so much. Man. Is it Valentina? Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Good to meet you. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm so excited to
I'm excited too.
My name is Pamela. Hi.
Hi, Pamela.
A quick question about your the amino acids, because I still just cannot get anything in my stomach in the morning. I just cannot find myself having an appetite. And so I work out at like 11, so I wanted to have a smoothie before, because I don't love the powder and the water thing and trying to force myself through it. So I just wanted to, my husband said that I wasn't supposed to put the amino acids in a smoothie, and I was like, what? So I wanted to see if that's okay to do that.
Yes, it is okay to put the amino acids in a smoothie for sure. So there's 3 things you could do. Perfect Amino also makes a protein powder, a plant and an animal-based powder. So you have a choice that has the Perfect Aminos in it. You could also, if you were taking the Perfect Aminos on an empty stomach, didn't like the powder and the fluid, you could take the 5 capsules. It's a higher volume, but you would need a very little bit of water just to wash those down, and you could actually take the capsules. So you can switch to capsules from the powder. You can put it into a smoothie. If you're going to put it into the smoothie, I would actually get the vanilla or chocolate flavors, because some of the mixed berries are pretty powerful. Or I would get the Perfect Amino powder, meaning the Perfect Amino protein powder, which you can actually put into a smoothie, and it has the amino acids already in it.
I think that's what I have, but I have it in the mixed berry. So, yeah, okay. So the perfect amino acid powder is what I can put in a smoothie with a banana.
Yep, you can put the Perfect Amino powder. So you can take the Perfect Aminos in whatever flavor and put those into a smoothie. Or you can actually add the Perfect Amino protein powder, which will have Perfect Aminos, and it will have, there's a whey protein base and then also a pea protein base. You can see it on their website. Or you could just take the capsules, right? The Perfect Aminos actually comes in capsule form too. It's just that you take 5 capsules versus 1 scoop of the powder. So sometimes, a lot of people just don't like to swallow that volume of capsules. It doesn't bother me personally, but a lot of people have an aversion to that.
Yeah, can't do it.
Can't do it.
I won't do it.
You sound like my wife.
The powder versus the other, which one is better for me to put in my smoothie between those 2?
I would use the Perfect Aminos in a vanilla or chocolate flavor and put it to your smoothie.
Okay, great, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a.
I adore everything about you, so thank you.
Oh, that's really kind of you. Thank you so much. Hi there.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Valentina.
I did my second cold plunge today. That was awesome.
Yes, I know. Yesterday you were out in the woods, right? It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm out of the woods now, but I'll try to do shower tomorrow. Question about the genetic test. So, my test shows the complete deletion of the sorry, let me just give it, GSTM1 gene. So that's the one that is responsible for detox of the liver. And the question is, if you know anything about it, how do I supplement for it and how do I test
Yes, it's so technically it's not directly liver detox. It's the what's called transsulfuration and detoxification pathway, which is governed by glutathione. So this is an impaired ability to produce glutathione, which means you have impaired ability to eliminate waste, not stool or urine, but cellular waste, right? I mean, the process of cellular metabolism is a really dirty process. Imagine a bunch of 5-year-olds baking in the kitchen. That's kind of like what cells do. They throw off a lot of waste. These wrappers and dust everywhere. And this is eliminated through glutathione synthase. So my recommendation would be there is a topical glutathione called Gluteryl. 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 I actually had the PhD. The Indian physician or Indian pharmacologist on my podcast. You can actually look up the podcast, and he literally dedicated his entire So if you watched it, he dedicated his entire adult lifetime to the study of one compound, glutathione, and he found a way to actually fold the proteins so he could compact their size, have them go right transdermal, and then unfold in the blood, and he's proved it. And so it's a supplement that I'm a huge fan of. I actually take it myself. It comes in a spray format. You spray it on your forearms and you rub it in, or you spray it anywhere that the skin would touch if you weren't wearing clothes. So you could do the inner side of your thigh. You could do the outside area here under your bicep. And it works really, really well. So if you have impaired liver detoxification, which is a fancy way of saying impaired glutathione production, because glutathione's the main antioxidant in the human body. Every single cell in your body, every cell without exception, contains glutathione. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, almost every living cell has some form of that. Every living cell contains NAD. But so glutathione is a really necessary antioxidant in the human body, and it's actually produced by the liver. And the liver is then the biggest consumer of glutathione. So by using that topical spray, you'll bring your detox pathway right back to above normal. You bring it right into the optimal range.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hey, man. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how are you?
I know. It's been a day. I'm gonna have to charge you rent. You're spending so much time in my unit,
We're down in Tampa now, so it's a little different world for us. Have to get used to the humidity at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, no. Like when I did the cold plunge today, my staff opened the door. I was like, whoa! It's old school humid here in Miami right now.
It's nice though. We're really enjoying it. Been on all the supplements for about 45 days, I think, and got the oxygen machine and the PMS mat. My main concerns is getting rid of fat. I'm doing the 30-30-30 in the morning, and then I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, so I was really interested in the results from the third day of the water fast, getting rid of kind of the radical cells in my body. How often can you do that?
Every 3 to 4 months. So there's 2 ways that you can do the fasting. There's something called cyclical fasting, and then there's extended water fasting. So cyclical fasting is, and they have about the same efficacy, right? Over a prolonged period of time. So cyclical fasting is a 24-hour fast once a week. So very often what I tell people not to do is don't go an entire day without eating, because 24 hours is 24 hours, right? And it's much easier psychologically for us to spend a day not eating if I know that I have a time certain where I can eat. So let's say you eat your last meal at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Then you just wouldn't eat your next meal until 6 o'clock on Sunday night. You do that once a week, right? The advantage of doing this, rather than waking up Sunday morning and fasting all the way until Monday morning, is that you're not ever going an entire day without eating, but you are going an entire 24-hour period, right? So I find that cyclical fasting is much easier for the majority of people, because you say, okay, on Saturday night, I'm going to eat my last meal at 6 o'clock, which means I will not eat my first meal until Sunday at 6 o'clock. It's just a lot easier psychologically when you wake up and you skip breakfast and you skip lunch and you're battling the hunger pains and your body's asking you to eat, to know that you can just push yourself to a date certain to a time certain later in the same day, rather than say, oh my God, I'm not going to eat the rest of the day, and then I'm going to go to bed hungry. So I think that 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. Fast once a week is a great way to do it, or every 3 to 4 months, you do a 3-day water fast.
Okay, sounds good. I'm excited about. I think I go September and get my 90-day results to see where we're at with everything. And I'm getting up at 6 in the morning without thinking about it. I go to bed about 11 or 12. Used to sleep till 9.
Yeah.
I'm just up and I can't. I'm getting up and doing my thing and just feel like your program has got me on a better path because I'm not as exhausted. I used to start exercise programs and be exhausted and couldn't get through it. My wife, my daughter, and myself just ordered the more expansive gene test.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hold supplements and just keep supplementing what we have until the test group may be finished, or would you suggest just going through it and doing it?
Well, go through it. But if what you have is working for you now, again, I just, I personally, I'm just, like I say, such a fan of big data, and I'm such a fan of getting these practical outcomes before I really would want to get behind something. So I'm definitely behind the testing. The information that comes out of it in the booklets are incredible. Diet comes out of it. Exercise routines come out of it. A lot more information on what you're processing and what you're not comes out of it. Just to take that next step and then say, the microbead technology, which I'm fascinated by. And I work with our clinical team and Dr. Daniels and the PhDs that develop that test almost daily, because I want to have a sound rationale that's backed by us practically seeing this move biomarkers and have subjective data in patients, an actual population. And we've got about 6,500 of those now. So I'm waiting for that. We have 150,000. We just crossed 150,000 patients last week. So with about 6,500 of them in various stages of this gene test, and I'm really interested to start getting that data and feedback back so that then we can tweak the dosages until I feel that they're perfect. In my opinion, we're probably 4 to 12 weeks away from that, depending on how fast I can get data in. And then I'll be a full-throated supporter of that, and all the way through to the targeted supplementation.
I'm with you. I'm all about results and how things, how you can see. I'm really excited about the blood test to see, especially with my kidneys, how the PMF-MAT's been helping.
Oh yeah, you're going to see your EGFR go up. You're going to see your blood urea nitrogen creatinine come down. I think you can expect to have some decent results there.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the kind words. All right, I can hear you. Hi, Sharon.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I love the information that you're disseminating. People need this. People need what you know. And I feel very grateful to follow some of your protocols.
Thank you.
Last year, I went through triple-negative breast cancer treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So chemo, surgery, radiation therapy. Before that, I was a bodybuilder. Well, I am a bodybuilder. I still lift.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge getting up back. Next month I'll be 76 years old.
Oh, awesome.
So I believe that moving, eating well, positive mind state is so important as we age.
No question.
So my question is, I'm dealing with some aftermath of the treatment that I had last year. My microbiome is getting healthy again after the chemo, thank goodness. I've been doing a lot of supplementing for that, pre and post.
Are you on tamoxifen or?
No.
Okay.
No, it was triple negative, so it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And I was on HRT and exogenous testosterone for many years, so I can't do that right now. But I'm trying to build my muscle back, And actually, in my 70s, I am gaining some muscle back because I'm doing the in-body testing and seeing that I'm getting good results. Of course, you have to challenge your body and eat well. My problem that I wanted to ask you about is inflammation. I've gotten a lot of joint pain. I'm still pushing through it in training. I want to get off of NSAIDs, and I don't want to get back on any kind of medication. I'm trying to stay natural and clean. And I know my body will eventually heal itself because it has so far, like amazing. But would you, and I'm looking at a PEMF device as well.
Great.
Do you have any other suggestions that might help?
Yes, I have two suggestions, and one is less expensive and one would be budget dependent. But the first suggestion is the peptide BPC 157. It's shown very good prognosis in post-oncology treatments. It is not a pro-growth peptide, it's a pro-healing peptide. It's also extraordinarily good for inflammation. Red light therapy is arguably the best thing that you can do for systemic levels of inflammation, but probably the best in terms of bang for the buck, and it's going to run you around $7,000, is a hydrogen gas generator for your tub. I think I actually have the one that I have on the Ultimate Human website. And basically what this does is it hooks up to the hand sprayer of your tub. It runs the water into this hydrogen generator, and then it fills the tub. It has a hose that comes back in. It fills the tub with hydrogen nanogas. And you'll notice that the tub will actually look milky, like vitamin D milk. That's the density of those bubbles. When you get into the water, it will clear right away because those bubbles will go right transdermal. If you go to hydrogenstudies.com and you actually look at the benefits of actually bathing in hydrogen water, and yes, you can just not drink it, you can bathe in it. I don't usually talk about this because the machine is expensive, and I don't want people to think I'm out there, you have to buy some really expensive machine. But I'm telling you, I have witnessed some of those incredible miracles in people getting in and out of that tub. I've put people in that tub that have been crippled with arthritis, and they skip out of my unit like they won the lottery. It's astounding the capacity for hydrogen to go transdermal and reduce inflammation. So when people have systemic inflammation, arthritis, systemic joint pains, multiple injuries, spinal surgeries, things like that, where flexibility, mobility is impaired, but inflammation is pretty intense, 20-minute bath once or even twice a day in that hydrogen gas water is a life changer, and it happens instantly. The other day, a few months ago, if you were on one of our Rule Breakers calls, I told you a story about where I walked into our gym in our house one day. My wife was sitting on the floor, and she was in tears. My wife, Sage, and of course I thought I did something wrong. And so I asked her what was going wrong, and she had just pinched a nerve in her neck, and she was doing one of those things where she just couldn't turn. It took me a few minutes to get her up off the floor. I sort of hobbled her into the bathroom. It took me another 10 minutes to just get her clothes off her, and I sat her down in the tub, and I ran this hydrogen gas on the back of her neck, and I kid you not, in less than 15 minutes she was fully rotating her neck forward, back, and the pain was just gone. I've seen the same thing in arthritic patients. I've seen the same thing with scleroderma patients, with or clients, eczema, psoriasis, all of these kinds of inflammatory conditions. So, budget dependent, those would be, my first choice would be BPC, which is a little less taxing on the budget. And then my second choice, if you have the budget for it, would be to get a hydrogen gas generator. It would be life-changing.
Well, I need that.
You need that in your life.
Yes, I want to get back to good again.
Oh, yeah, you'll get back to great again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for all your information.
You're super welcome. All right, we got 10 minutes left before I have to jump off, but I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can. So let's do the speed round. Hey, Frederick.
We met in London.
Yes. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. So I have a question. I've got psoriasis on my head and my face, and I tried a lot of stuff using this shampoo, found doctor and all that stuff, but I was thinking about carnivore diet, but I'm not sure. So, do you have any?
Yes, carnivore diet's excellent for that. You know, the thing about a carnivore diet is, you know, you don't want to just date that diet. You want to marry that diet for a period of time to really check its effectiveness. So yes, carnivore diet would be excellent, especially for psoriasis and eczema. And ironically, what I recommended to the last rule breaker that was just before you, if you really want to see something fascinating and see pre and post photos, just Google hydrogen gas or hydrogen gas bathing and psoriasis, and look at the pre and post photos of people that actually bathe in hydrogen water. I mean, it's almost an instant remedy for, you know, topical inflammatory conditions like psoriasis, eczema, dermatitis, contact dermatitis, you know, pustulization. Even my youngest daughter, who's 16, who used to have really bad sebaceous acne when she was 15, I would have her go in that hydrogen bath and put a snorkel on and just put her face down in the water. And it was astounding what it did to that sebaceous activity. Just all the redness would go away and the pustules would go away in about a week. So again, budget depending, I would think about doing the same thing and purchasing one of those hydrogen gas generators for your tub. I mean, you might experience instant relief.
They sell it and deliver it to
all over the world.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, you already sent the link? Oh, Malia sent the link in the chat for both of you guys. So it's in the chat.
I mean, just this question. So, and it's space for the people.
Thank you. Okay.
He said he wanted to do this to other people.
Oh, he wanted to let other people. Okay. Michael.
Hey, Gary, how's it going?
Hey, man.
Hey, man. I got a quick question. I got the EWAT from you guys,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been using it in the morning, doing a bike ride about 20 minutes, but I find myself yawning a lot, which I don't normally yawn, especially in the morning. So is that an indication I need to put the weights on it and get more oxygen pushing through?
Yes. Put those 4 weights on the corners to help just pull the bag down, because you'll find that when you really start pulling on that hose, it's kind of, you know, you really have to pull the air to get in. So you can put that positive pressure. There should be 4 like sand weights, and you just kind of clip them around the 4 clips at the top, and they'll just put a little pressure on that bag to keep the oxygen kind of flowing through the mask. And you find that you shouldn't be doing that. Also, you know, you got a bigger face like I do, so make sure that you don't have a medium mask. You have a large mask. So,
I do have a large.
Okay, so you got a large. Okay, so great. Then you should be able to you should be able to pull enough oxygen if you have those weights on there to stop you from yawning.
Okay, and should I be doing like those obnoxiously large breaths like you're always talking about?
Well, you know, the idea with EWAT is to do, you know, Otto Warburg's research was 3 rounds of 3 minutes of just easy cycling or easy walking, and then a 30-second sprint, and then 3 minutes easy, and then a 30-second sprint, then 3 minutes easy, and a 30-second sprint. So whatever you get done in terms of the volume of that oxygen in those 3 minute plus sprint rounds, which is what, 11 and a half minutes, then you're done with EWAT. So 3 minutes easy cycling, 30-second sprint, 3 minutes easy cycling, 30-second sprint, 3 minutes, 30-second sprint. Take a couple of good deep breaths, cool down, and then pop the mask off, and you're good to go. You've reached maximum partial pressure.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Got it, man. All right, one more question. We're going to try to fire up. Hi. Kathy?
Hello there, Gary.
Hello there, Kathy.
It's Kathy Joe, and I just want to say thank you, and I want to thank Ron and Tammy Ecker because they got me to this site.
All right, Ron and Kathy Ecker. Awesome. I mean, I should send them some swag.
There's Freedom on here.
Okay, Freedom? Yeah, sometimes I don't see people's names.
Yeah, okay, so I'm 72 years old, and I weigh 276 pounds, and I have stage 3 kidney failure I've done the genetics and taken the blood test, waiting for the results.
Okay.
So I don't know what else to say. Even like Gary, I have a hard time getting up in the morning, and I have a hard time making exercise.
Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this, day by day, right? If you consider where we want to go in its totality, sometimes it's, it gets overwhelming, but we want to focus on progression, not perfection. All too often we focus on perfection and it stops us from making any progress. So basically, once you get the blood work and the gene testing in and you get on one of our clinician schedules, generally what they'll do is they'll meet you right where you are and put a plan in place to walk you out of that condition, both the stage of kidney failure that you're in, which you may or may not have been told is not reversible, certainly is. I've seen this hundreds of times. And then, yeah, it is.
I don't say that I have kidney failure because I know my body can repair that.
Amen. It absolutely can. I mean, there are confirmed stories all over, about livers regenerating, going down to the size of your thumb and regenerating into a full basketball-sized organ. The body is extremely resilient. We talked about cellular turnover earlier in this webcast, about 300 billion cells every single day, every 84 days, the majority of the live cells in your body, and every year, every single cell in the entire body. You're literally a new human being down to the cellular level. So, disease, pathology are not permanent. They can be transient if we just take the right action. So, I'm not surprised it's hard for you to get up in the morning. And so you want to just take things at the pace that you can take them. Add simple things like cold showers. Add simple things like morning breath work. Add simple things like grounding if you're in a place where you can get out and touch the surface of the earth. And I will tell you, the most overlooked exercise in all of modern mankind is just simply walking. And if you can do 500 steps a day, and work your way to 1,000 steps a day, to 1,500 steps a day, to 2,000 steps a day, which, by the way, you can track on your iPhone. If you have an iPhone, you don't need fancy equipment. It actually tracks your steps as long as you keep it with you. Then what you can do is just set really incremental goals for yourself. One of my favorite stories that I ever heard was Ed Milet talking about his father, who was a chronic alcoholic, and he'd been sober for almost 30 years. And as a young child, he used to ask his dad all the time. He was like, "Dad, are you ever going to drink again? And do you think that you'll ever take another sip of alcohol?" And his dad said, "I don't know. But I know that I'm not going to drink for one more day." Right? So he never thought about the totality of not drinking for the rest of his life. He thought about the totality of not drinking tomorrow. And he knew if he just thought it through it like that and said, "I'm just not going to drink tomorrow," and then tomorrow came and he just said, "I'm not going to drink the next day," he could actually absorb that journey and not have to internalize the fact that the rest of his life might be 30 or 40 more years and try to think in his mind, I'm not going to be able to hold on for 30 years or 40 years and go back to what he used to do. And so, really a part of us, making this transition is being okay with not being perfect and just making progress. And so always compare yourself to yourself, not everybody else. And we're going to put you on a protocol that's going to help you safely and rapidly lose weight. You're going to feel better week over week. You're going to make small incremental progress. That hook's going to get set. That positive aggression towards working out is going to return. The mood and the emotional state's going to slowly start to elevate. And you just got to be conscious of the little things in your life that you can key into that show you that you're on the right track. And one of the things I'll caution you about is that we don't notice the absence of the bad as much as we notice its presence. And what I mean by that is very often when I work with clients that have anxiety, and I tell them, listen, as your anxiety starts to get less frequent, you will not notice that it's getting less frequent. Like right now, you might not notice that your low back does not hurt because it's not hurting. If it hurt, you would notice it, right? So what happens is as the negatives start to leave, we sometimes don't notice the progress that we're making. But if we're really conscious about ourselves and go, you know what? I used to wake up sore and achy every morning like I had a workout the night before. In the last 5 days, I've woken up and I didn't feel sore and achy. Bing, that's a nice positive, right? And we start to clue in onto those little progressive changes. And the next thing you know, you look back, you're a couple of months down the road, you're a completely different person.
Well, I have been doing a cold shower since last September. December. And I know that my arthritis in my shoulders and the rest of my body goes away for 4, 5,
Bam!
6 hours. I mean, it's amazing. I go.
It's better than non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. That's awesome.
Yes. I've noticed that, Gary. And sometimes I don't even notice that I don't have the pain until someone says, well, how's your shoulder? And yesterday I said, well, it hasn't hurt. It still doesn't hurt.
Give yourself some credit for that, right? That's a win, right? That is an absolute win. Like I talked to some of these clients and they're like, well, I don't know if I feel any better. And I go, okay, well, in my notes here, it said that you were feeling bouts of anxiety 3 to 5 times a day. When was the last time you felt anxious? Oh my God, it was last Saturday. I go, you mean to tell me you went a week without feeling any anxiety and you don't know if it's working? They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about it that way. So key into those things. Yeah. Yeah. It's a blessing. You're a blessing.
You are a blessing.
No, you're a blessing.
And all the rest of the people that are on here are blessings.
No, they really are. They're chicken soup for my soul. Yeah, I really appreciate all of you guys. So that's a wrap, guys. Rural Breakfast, you know I wouldn't be here without you. So I always want to thank you guys for tuning in and joining me. I mean, this is the group that I want to pour the most attention into. I hope that you get value from these. I really try not to hold back. Just be as authentic and direct and truthful as I can. I'll tell you if I know something. I'll tell you if I don't. Do me a favor. Help me build this community because together we're going to change the world. You hear so many positive stories on here. One of the reasons why I like the Rural Breakfast community is because you could bring somebody into the Rural Breakfast, and if they just sat back and listened, no matter what they're facing, they're going to be filled with hope. Because there are stories on these calls of people that are 4 years old, and there's stories of people that are 75, 78 years old having very similar experiences. And you're going to hear from people that have struggled with cancer, that have struggled with autoimmune disease, that have struggled with weight gain, depression, anxiety, all kinds of conditions. And there's nothing more empowering than to be that person that's suffering in silence, to watch somebody that's where you are go through it and emerge from it. And it's just very empowering. So help me build this community. Refer your friends, your family, your coworkers in here, and let's really make a massive impact on the world. I will never give up on you guys. I will never not tell you the truth. I will never not be as authentic as I can possibly be. And this is my favorite time of the week when I actually get to get on the phone like this and hear the stories and make an impact. So I'll see all of you back on the live call for day 3 tomorrow morning. We have 2 insane special guests. I can't wait for our last live cold plunge together.